What's going on YouTube? Anarchy Gaming here, and I'd like to welcome you to my first YouTube commentary. Today's topic of discussion, Battlefield 4. Now, before I begin, I'd like to apologize. Commentaries are new to me, so I'm learning as I go along, so if I make any mistakes, like I said, sorry. But with that being said, we'll move on. So, Battlefield 4. This video is going to be about, how I feel about Battlefield 4, the impressions I have in it, and what I plan on doing with this channel. But even before I begin talking about Battlefield 4, I want to talk about, where I come from as a gamer. I've been playing video games since Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64. I've been playing first-person shooters since Call of Duty 4. And outside of Call of Duty, I've been playing Battlefield games since Battlefield 1941, Battlefield Bad Company 2, Battlefield Bad Company, Battlefield Vietnam. I've been around for as far as Battlefield games go. I've played most of them. I didn't get too involved in Battlefield Bad Company 1 or 2 online. I mean, I played some, but I didn't hit like max prestige. Not like in Battlefield 3 where I think I hit like a level 50 kernel with a ton of hours. Probably more than the average person should have. So I've been around the block with Battlefield. And with that being said, like most veteran Battlefield players, I had higher expectations for Battlefield 4. I feel like it was hyped that Battlefield 4 didn't turn out the way it should have, that it's still a beta, and it was a rushed game. But like I said, these are just my opinions too. Even before I begin going on about the complaints I have for this game, just remember, these are my opinions. So it's up to you. You can accept my opinions as a gamer who's played I don't know how many hours. I'm a level 30 in there. So you can take that as a gamer who's played enough to get up to level 30. Or you can buy the game yourself and see how the game works. But either way, I'm going to go over how I feel about the game. And I'm going to try to break it down. I'm going to talk about graphics, about sound, about controls, and about gameplay. And keep in mind, I also play PC games. I've been a console gamer forever, and about a year ago I switched over to PC games. And I go back and forth because I like PCs because they have better graphics, but I like console because some of my friends play console. I respect what both systems can do, and I respect the perks and the cons of both systems. But anyway, Battlefield 4. So graphics. As we all know, or at least on the date of this video being made on 11/11/2013, the PS4 is only a few days away to be released on November 15th. And everyone's got the PS4 hype because it's going to be the next great thing. As a PC gamer and a console gamer, on the PC side, people are like, oh, well, the PS4 is going to bridge the gap because companies make games for consoles. And if they make better games for consoles, it means that inevitably they're going to port better games for PC. I don't know. It could be true, could not be true. But, looking at the graphics currently, I have, on my PCing rig, I have a GTX 680 graphics card, an i7 3770K running at 40 megahertz. I could overclock it to 46 probably. It's got 16 gigs of RAM and a ton of solid state drives. It's got one hard drive, but nothing, but that's for some other random stuff. It mostly uses SSDs for gaming. So in Battlefield 3, I could play on ultra settings at 90 frames above easily while recording with DxTory, because if you know anything about fraps sucks. So anyway, my rig costs like a couple $1,000, and it's a high-end gaming computer, but its specific job is gaming. I wanted to get the best graphics possible on PC. So that's what you have to look at on PC. So if you're running a beastly gaming setup, you can expect to play Battlefield 4 on ultra or high. And if you're doing that, then you can expect a 10 out of 10 graphics setting. If you're going to run on medium and under, you're probably going to be in the realm of 9 out of 10, maybe 8 if you're on low. But if you're having to play Battlefield 4 on low, your computer probably is not meant to play Battlefield, period. I would say at the lowest, you'd be getting a 9 out of 10 in graphics. For the PS4, based on what we know, based on how the PS3 acts, based on how the PC acts, I'm going to assume at the very best you could expect to get between an 8 and a 7 out of 10 on graphics, just because of what we've seen so far and what I've seen so far playing on the PC and playing on the PS3. Now the PS3, graphics on the PS3 leave a lot desired because if you don't know, on the PC, a lot of loading and texture resolutions are done on the PC side because you have a graphics card that should be capable of handling all the graphics in game. Therefore, your PC should be able to render everything. That leaves the server to be just that, a server. That's where the game's played on. That's basically all the servers do is they host. You know, they load up the game, they host, they might bring in some textures, but, you know, 99% of the workload is going to be on a PC. On consoles, this is completely opposite. 99% of the workload is going to be on the server, and the console is basically just going to be a port. Everything happens on the server, it's ported over to the PC, or it's ported over to the PS3, and you play it as is. And you can't really expect the console to do anything as far as graphics go, just because the graphical fidelity of the graphics card and consoles are obsolete. So, if you play Battlefield 4 on a PS3 right now, you'll know when the game starts up, the graphics are horrible. You have an invisible character. There's hardly any graphics. Like, when the game starts, I start running, and all I see is a green name over an invisible person, and if you run into a fence, you won't know it. You'll just see 2 steel rods and nothing there. You won't see the fence until maybe 10 to 15 seconds after the server gets going. And then a fence will pop up and people say, oh hey, there's a fence there, I can't run through it. After the server's on, the game's, you know, moving along, the graphics bump up to a 7 out of 10. You know, personally, the way I look at it, graphics are nice, but most people don't go, oh wow, you know, those chain link fences look awesome, or wow, look at the flames coming up out of the ground. You know, I play Arma 3, and you know, it's a graphically intense game with wonderful graphics, but most people don't look at the graphics that way. They're like, oh, I'm being shot at, there's a tank, there's artillery, you know, there's other things that draw your attention aside from graphics. So yeah, while graphics are nice for maybe a YouTube video, graphics don't mean nothing when you're playing a game because your mind is elsewhere. You know, you want the bare minimum graphics. So, you know, medium graphics for PC or console are acceptable. Now as far as sound goes, sound is 10 out of 10 across the board. You can sound whore anybody. You know, when there's footsteps around you, someone's reloading, you can hear that. You know, you can hear your teammates and the enemy. So you've got to kind of pay attention to your surroundings. If, you know, if you're playing in standard maps, there's a mini map, you can pretty easily tell if it's an enemy or not. If you're playing in hardcore, where it adds a new level of realism, then, you know, you've got to take it careful around that corner because you don't know. But in general, sound is spot on. There's not really a whole lot I could say they could do to change it because it sounds pretty crisp. I mean, you can hear gunfire in the distance, you hear your own gun, you can hear grenades bounce off the wall, the explosions, footsteps. I mean, personally as a gamer, there's not much more I would ask for from the game. It does just that, and you know, as you can see from the video, I'm a pretty run and gun type person, so I mean, and this is all from my mic, my headset. I have a Turtle Beach headset, and I can hear pretty well. So if I can hear well, you can probably hear well. But you know, that's all for the ratings. So the next part I'm going to talk about are controls and graphics, controls and gameplay. And this is where it gets pretty murky with Battlefield 4. You know, people have always complained about DICE and EA trying to lure more Call of Duty players over. And, you know, that was a big topic in Battlefield 3. They called DICE traitors because they were trying to... They made close quarter maps, and they just did stuff that would please Call of Duty players, but it wouldn't please Battlefield 3 players. And eventually they did please Battlefield players because they opened up... Or they created giant tank supremacy maps and huge maps that you could run across. Well, none of that's in Battlefield 4. And a lot of people on the forums have dubbed Battlefield 4 Battle Duty, or as they would say, DICE and EA's attempt to knock off / steal COD players. And they've done a pretty good job at that. I don't really know many Call of Duty players that come over because, to be honest, I've played both, and Call of Duty is Call of Duty. It's got its fans for one reason, and Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, they have their fans. And you don't see Call of Duty changing the way they play, or you don't see Call of Duty changing the way the game works to try to lure Battlefield 3 players over, or Battlefield 4 players. You either accept Call of Duty for what it is, or you move on. Which is what pisses a lot of veterans off in the Battlefield series, because you have this company that's selling out to try to lure over more fans because they're money hungry. And you know, I would love to stand here. I would love to sit here and say for the next 30, 40 minutes, oh, Battlefield 4 is a great game. But it's not. I mean, it's got some good things, but most of what I'm about to talk about is bad, like game-breaking bad. You know, you can play the game, but if you play Call of Duty and you get mad because stupid stuff happens to where you want to throw your game or throw your controller or yell at the screen and go, what happened? You can expect a lot of that in Battlefield 4. And if you don't, then that's fine. You've probably got a cooler head than me, or you don't care. But I'm competitive. I get in the game. I want to win. So I don't want to die to random shit. That's just the way it is. You know, if we get into a gunfight and I have the upper advantage, I want to win because I had an advantage, not lose because the system's messed up or some random shit happened that I die. But that's just me. But I'll elaborate on that because, you know, I feel like you can't say a game sucks and not have anything to prove it with, or not have any, you know, not be able to back it up. So we'll back it up. EA has dumbed down Battlefield. You know, that's just a broad statement I can say. And if I want to break it down into points, EA has dumbed down Battlefield 4 because there are now grenades. Grenades have been illuminated, so when there's a grenade thrown next to you, it's bright red. There is no longer spawn protection. There is aim assist for every weapon. There is increased weapon damage. Vehicles have been nerfed, and there's the inclusion of COD controls. The default controls are no longer Battlefield 3-esque, they're now Call of Duty-esque. Basically, Battlefield has been dumbed down to the point that it's for casual gamers, and when I say casual, I mean either people that have never played a first-person shooter game or little kids. Now, when I say the controls, if you're a veteran of Battlefield, you'll know how the controls used to work. You used to knife with R2, throw grenades with L2. L1 would be for aiming, and shooting would be R1. That's how it was. That's all changed. Now they run COD controls, Call of Duty controls, where knifing is on the circle. Well, I run tactical, so for me, knifing is circle and crouch is R3. Typical Call of Duty controls have knifing on R3 and crouching, or whatever you want to call it, on circle. Now, personally, since I played Call of Duty, you know, the last Call of Duty game I played was Black Ops 1, but I still play it, so having that background, it wasn't hard for me to switch. But if you're just a veteran of Battlefield, you've never played any other games or whatever, it can be difficult to switch those controls. Another problem with the controls and the system, reviving. So reviving in Battlefield has always been pretty simple. You usually press down R1, or you usually press right on the D-pad, and you would hold R1 to revive someone. Well, now they have a new way that if you're next to a teammate or, you know, anyone, you can press square and it will revive them. Now, I'm not exactly sure how this works because it never happened to me when I wanted to. It always happened when I didn't want to. Like, I would be next to a teammate, I would press square to reload my gun, and I would end up reviving them, having to press square to reload my gun again and then shoot. And in the worst case scenario, I would end up reviving them, not having any ammo, and then getting rushed by the enemies and dying because I didn't have any ammo. So what would happen in that case would be that A, I died, and my teammate died. So now we lost 2 tickets. The other problem would be that you now have to hold down R1 to let defibrillators charge up. So if you just randomly press R1, you'll revive someone, but only to 20% health. So a stone will pretty much kill them. You have to literally hold R1 down until your defibrillator or until it charges all the way up to revive someone to 100%, which never really happens because there's only a certain amount of time you can revive someone, and if you're letting your defib charge up and they time out, you're out of luck. You can't revive them anymore. They're dead and gone. So now you're just reviving a dead person. It's not going to work. And then the other problem with the controls and the system in general, counter knife. I'll talk a little more about counter knifing in the future, but the basic thing with counter knifing right now is that if you run up on an enemy and you go to knife them, all they have to do is spam F on the PC, circle on PS3, and the B button on Xbox. So all they have to do, they will counter knife you and you will die. So ultimately, this means that if you run up to someone in your close quarters, you can't knife them anymore. You basically have to try to shoot at them. And what ends up happening 99.9% of the time is you run up to them, they see you, and then you both run around in a circle trying to shoot at each other, hoping that you hit them. It's just random fire. And ultimately, the winner of that shootout dies because either you both kill each other or a teammate comes up and mops you up because you don't have any health. So they punish you for being smart and attempting the knife by the counter knife system. I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense to me why you should run up on someone and instead of knifing them, you have to pray and spray and hope you get a kill. That's just, it doesn't make sense to me. But, you know, EA, DICE, they're slowly moving away from the common sense department. The next point that kind of makes this game annoying is aim assist. If you have ever sucked at a first-person shooter game, you don't have to worry about sucking anymore. DICE they've alleviated that problem. Now all you have to do is aim in the general vicinity of an enemy, press R1, or should I say you should hold L1. The gun will automatically aim at the enemy, and all you have to do then is press R1, and that's it. So press L1, press R1, kill. That's it. There's no aiming required, pretty much. So even the worst players, even the worst first-person shooters are now elite players, you know, because all they have to do is press 2 different buttons and they get a kill. And that's what's so annoying. And if you play this game, you know that's true, because I've run up on snipers and all they've done is pressed L1 and R1 and boom, I'm dead. They didn't aim and nothing. I'm going, what the fuck just happened? You know, it's bull. And, you know, you can remove aim assist, but why? You know, use an example. Say you're playing in a game, you know, any game, a football game, a basketball game, whatever. Okay, you're playing in a basketball game for $1 million. Would you get in a wheelchair and play against people not in a wheelchair? Or if you were playing football, would you walk when everybody was running? No, you wouldn't. You'd want to be on equal or better terms than the people you're playing, because you want to win. You don't want to lose. So why take aim assist off when it's going to hurt you? You know, but it can hurt. It can help and it can hurt you. You know, there have been times where I've aimed at people and I've almost got the kill, but a random enemy has ran by and the game said, oh, well, we're going to aim at that person running by just because that's what aim assist does. And I've gotten killed by someone who's had 1 to 5 health. And it's annoying, you know. It's annoying to lose a kill because of aim assist, and it's annoying to get killed because of aim assist, just because, you know, it's been dumbed down. And aim assist is in Call of Duty, and it's not really been prevalent in Battlefield 3 or any Battlefield series until now. And the way I look at it is, if you don't play first-person shooters and you suck, play more of them. The only way to become a better first-person shooter, or for that matter, a better player, is to play more. I mean, the way to become better at anything at life is to do more of it. So if you suck at playing games, or you suck at being a first-person shooter, play more video games. You know, play more first-person shooters, and you'll become better. If you don't have time to do that, well then accept the fact that you suck, or accept the fact that there are people that are better players than you. And I know people don't want to do that, but you know, that's just the way it is. And then, you know, even worse than that, and this kind of goes into vehicles, you know, weapons aren't the only thing that uses aim assist. Javelins, the Smalls, the MBT, LAW, they all use aim assist. You know, in Battlefield 3, if you aimed a rocket at a tank, you had to aim, like literally. If you aimed and you missed, you missed. And there were times I missed tanks by the smallest margin just because I didn't aim right. But in Battlefield 4, Smalls and the first RPG you get, which is an MBT LAW, they have heat-seeking missiles, as they call them. So all you have to do is basically fire the rocket in the general vicinity of the tank, and the rockets will guide themselves in, which is so annoying, because if you're in a tank and you back up and the rocket misses you, it doesn't miss you, because once it passes you, it instantly zones and homes in on you. So there have been times that I've seen rockets go above my tank and then just directly straight on down. Excuse me. And it defies physics. And there's really, the only rockets that really don't use that are the RPGs. You know, you've got javelins, which are true heat seekers. You lock on and then they take over. And then you've got a new thing, which is the FMJ 172, which is a guided missile. So you fire that like a stationary tow, and then you track it the rest of the way. So now you've got 4 anti-tank weapons that can be fired from behind defensive structures. And as a tank, there's nothing you can do, because, you know, radioactive armor doesn't do anything. You know, in Battlefield 3 at least it did something when the rockets hit you, but it does nothing now because most people fire the rockets above the tank and the tank takes damage on the top. And then on top of that there are critical hits. But I'll talk about vehicles more. Just know that having aim assist on rockets is a bad idea for vehicles. But I'll cover vehicles more because I feel like I'm kind of getting off track and I need to talk about vehicles a little bit more in the next section. Anyway, so up next, battle packs. If you guys had seen all this, the hype before Battlefield 4, you know, EA, DICE had talked about battle packs, so they were going to be the next greatest thing that they were going to make Battlefield 4 an uber customizable game where no two players would be the same. And it seemed like it was one of those things that was debatable. You know, you could say, oh wow, this game's going to have a ton of customization. And then you could say, well, how is that going to happen? Because if people pay for DLC, you can't keep that from them. So what's really happened is that in the vanilla game, you unlock specific weapons through, you know, progress. Like you have to use assault to unlock assault, shotguns to unlock shotguns, things like that. That's smart. I think you should have to use certain weapons to unlock certain weapons. So that I'll give them that. You know, if you use shotguns, you should only unlock shotguns. If you use assault, you should only unlock assault. So I will give them credit for that. But battle packs are stupid, and in my opinion, they're the micro system. This is how they get people to pay more money for battle packs. Because for the first 160 kills on any weapon, you unlock the same things for any guns. They're different, but the same. You'll unlock a scope for the first 10, a laser sight for the second, for the 20th kill. Then you unlock all these other goofy attachments and grips. And then finally, when you get to 160th kill, you unlock a silencer. That's for any gun. Then from the 160th kill to like the 500th kill, after every 50 kills, well, after every 40, because you got to go from 160 to 2, then from 2 to 250. So from 40 for the first, 50 for there on, you unlock a battle pack, and it's pretty much a lottery ticket. You know, you don't know what you're going to unlock, but theoretically, every silencer, every laser, every attachment does the same thing. They just look different. You know, the only attachment I've seen so far that's useless is the heavy barrel. The heavy barrel is useless, and I'll talk about why it's useless in a minute. But as far as battle packs go, they're stupid because ultimately everyone is going to have the same weapons and the same equipment. It's going to be their choice what weapons they use and what attachments they use. So battle packs really don't add anything. You know, you have that option to buy battle packs, and they say you can get XP bonuses anywhere between 200 to 100%. You know, some battle packs have 50, 75%, whatever. I've never seen 200 or 100% XP boost. You know, I only get 10% or 25 or 50. You know, I've got, well, I take that back. I got one 100 XP boost, and that was just from being from my first gold battle pack when I turned level 10. But outside of that, battle packs are useless. No real reason you need them. Weapons. We'll move on to weapons. So the good and the bad. The good for weapons, the good are you have to use a weapon, a specific weapon, to unlock a specific weapon. That's the good. So pistols for pistols, RPGs for RPGs, shotguns for shotguns, snipers for snipers. That's the good. The good and the bad, assault rifles now are laser accurate, like almost more laser accurate than some snipers, which means that heavy barrels are no longer necessary. If you use a heavy barrel on an assault rifle, you're probably going to be more inaccurate than you're going to be accurate. Like I tried a heavy barrel on the M416, and my assault rifle had more vertical recoil than it did without the heavy barrel, and I was more inaccurate than I was without a heavy barrel. Also, the downside is that all guns are the same. So any shotgun in the class is the same as any shotgun you unlock down the road, and any assault is the same as any assault you unlock down the road. So you can take the first AK and have it in competition with the Ace 32 that you unlock from an achievement, and theoretically they're the same. There's a little bit difference because the Ace is an assignment weapon and it actually does a little bit more damage. But if you compare the AK with the AEK, for example, they're still the same. You know, there's a difference in rate of fire, but they both kill in the same amount of bullets. They both have the same recoil, the same everything. It's just a different name and a different skin. Carbines. The way I look at carbines is they're the alternative for any class. They have incredibly low rates of fire. They're supposed to shoot farther than any other weapon, but in my experiences, carbines suck at long range, and they're supposed to be decent, but they have horrible accuracy. But the biggest prop I could use for carbines is that you can use them to replace weapons, and what I use a carbine to replace is heavy machine guns, because heavy machine guns are just, if you don't set up a bipod with a heavy machine gun, you won't get a kill. At least I don't get a kill. I could stand in front of somebody and shoot a heavy machine gun and miss with every bullet. And I guess that's EA and DICE's attempt to make a heavy machine gun more realistic, because you have so much recoil. But still, you should still be able to get a kill if you put a grip on there. And I can't even get kills with heavy machine guns using grips. It's stationary or no stationary, which I think kind of sucks. And I know why it's that way, because in Battlefield 3 they nerfed heavy machine guns. And it seems like they've nerfed heavy machine guns more. So now basically you only have two real classes you can use, either assault or engineer, unless you can snipe. But once again, there's not much you can do with snipers. But I'll get to snipers in a little bit. Shotguns still are overpowered. In close quarter they're a one-shot kill. Hell, even at medium range, shotguns are a 1 to 2 shot kill, which is double, or which is half of what an AR is, or half of what anything is. Assault rifles, carbines, and submachine guns all take 4 bullets. Shotguns take 1 to 2, 1 at close range, 2 at long range, and sniper rifles take between 2 and 3 or 1. At long range, you can expect 2 to 3 shots, and at close range, it's 1 shot. Submachine guns, like I said, they're still deadly in close quarters. They have the highest rate of fire. You're not going to get beat in a gunfight with a submachine gun with a submachine gun if you're running around with an engineer. You're going to beat everybody pretty much, unless they have a shotgun. Then you're screwed. Snipers, pretty much stats on them say that they all do 100 damage. I think that's a joke, because if you get shot by a sniper at medium to long range, you're going to lose about 60% of your health. At close range, which I don't think snipers should be used at close range, but there are people that do that no-scope BS or just try to get CQC shots with snipers. You can expect to either die in one hit or lose 99% of your health. Overall, like I said, ARs, assault rifles, carbines, submachine guns all take 4 shots. Shotguns between 1 and 2, and snipers, if you're using them in close quarters, which you shouldn't, 1. If you're using them like you should, 2 to 3. But ultimately, all the weapons have horrible hit detection. To get those 3 to 4 shots or bullets to kill, you're probably going to have to fire between 20-25 rounds. And even before I talk about the hit detection, I want to talk about health. Health in this game is just like, it's so low, you can lose it from anything, and now you have all kinds of things to combat. If you jump off a ledge, you lose health. If you run too close to a fire, you lose health. So now you've got to combat losing health from the map. You've got to combat losing health from enemies, and it's a headache. It also means that you can no longer outrun someone and turn on them. In the past, in Battlefield 3, I would run across the hot zone that was under heavy gunfire, and then I would turn on the enemy if I thought they were getting ready to come around the corner, and I would shoot them. That doesn't work anymore. If you see an enemy, you either kill them or you get killed. If you see an enemy and you try to run, you're probably going to die around the corner. And that's for 2 things. Part of that's the bad netcode, which I'll explain more, and part of that's the low health. If you have decent health, you may be able to outrun them, but I would just suggest shooting at them. If you do outrun them, or at least on your screen it looks like you outrun them to where you get around the corner of a building, you're still going to die. And that's part of the netcode. The netcode in this game is atrocious. And I hate to keep comparing this to Battlefield 3, but we go back to Battlefield 3 so many times. There's been so much stuff that was fixed in Battlefield 3 that hasn't been it's like they forgot what they learned in Battlefield 3. Once again, there's rubber banding and there's lag spikes or server spikes, and these were problems in Battlefield 3, and these were fixed, and these are problems in Battlefield 4. Rubber banding, I've just talked about rubber banding. If you try to outrun an enemy and run around the corner, you might think you're behind that building, but to the game, you're still around the corner, and you're still going to take hits, and you're still going to die. So that's why I said, if you see an enemy, shoot, because if you run, you're going to die. As far as server spikes and server lag, there have been numerous occasions where I've been shooting at an enemy and it has instantly turned into the Matrix. And sometimes it just happens randomly, and other times it happens because Levolution's going on and the servers just can't take it. So I can see my player just going and watch the bullets come out of my gun in super slow-mo. Is it fair for the person I'm shooting at? No, because now I have 200-300% times the reflexes I normally would, because I can see where the bullets are going and adjust for it, and I can get the kill and they're going to die. And you got to take in what kind of ping you have. Even though we're all supposed to have the same ping, people are different places to the servers. So I may be getting a little bit different lag than they were. And that just is a mess, especially when you're in the middle of combat. It's just, I can't believe that things that were fixed, and that were truly fixed. It wasn't like DICE said, oh, well, these are fixed, and they weren't. These were truly fixed in Battlefield 4. It's mind-blowing that these fixed things are back. I know when you look at this video, it's like, wow, you're doing really good. I get between 30, 40 kills a game. But you would have no idea how many other times I play, and I'm just like, I'm so irritated because stupid stuff happens where I just go, wow. And I just have to quit the game because it's just like, it's amazing. And I've still got more to go on about this game. Vehicles in this game are nothing like Battlefield 3. Never before in a Battlefield game have I felt so useless in a vehicle. The only vehicles I could say that are even somewhat useless, the only vehicle I can say that is even somewhat useful is the Little Bird, attack choppers, like, the Black Hawks, the transport choppers, and the Apaches. And possibly planes. If you can do well in the planes where you can, arc them vertically enough to where you can do a dive bomb run and use your machine gun and pull up without dying, then I'll throw that in there. So those are the main 4 vehicles that I could say you could use. Ground vehicles, aside from the Jeeps, they're useless. Anti-air ones, the LAV, the tanks, they're useless. They're useless for multiple reasons. The first reason, there's now this stupid ammo implementation in the game. So you get an X amount of shots, and once you use up all those shots, you have to wait for your gun to reload. So in a tank, you get 4 shots. In between each of those 4 shots, you have to wait like 1 to 2 seconds before you can shoot again. That makes sense. But after you've used 4 shots, which typically you will when you're engaging another tank, you have to wait about 30 seconds for the gun to reload all of the ammo back up. There's an exaggerated period of time. So let's say you engage a tank and you use 4 rounds and you blow him up. Well, that's cool, but now for 30 seconds you're screwed. So if there's another tank or another vehicle or anything around, you can't do anything because the tank is reloading. So it's like for the first 4 shots you have to wait between 2 and 3 seconds between a shot. That makes sense. After those 4 rounds are gone, you gotta wait 10 times longer, which means you have to play more strategic, but it also means you're more vulnerable. And you're more vulnerable because aim assist. People no longer have to aim RPGs or the MBTs or the small properly. They just have to aim and get the rocket close enough to your tank to let the heat-seeking / aim assist computer hack to take over. So if their rockets get close enough to your vehicle will do damage. Now, DICE has combated this by saying, oh, well, it does a little bit extra damage, or it does a little bit less damage. Well, big deal. So what that these cheese rockets do less damage? There's been times where I've taken hits from these rockets, and okay, they do a little bit less damage, but they've done criticals. And a critical in a tank means that your wheels lock up and now you can't move your tank for 10 seconds. So on top of maybe not having ammo for 30 seconds, now you can't move your tank for 10 seconds. So normally if someone would fire a rocket at me, they may get 2 rockets off, and I would be able to get out and repair my tank because I'd be able to move back under cover. Now you can't move your tank for 10 seconds, which means in that period of time it takes between 2 and 3 seconds to get a rocket off. So they're going to get anywhere between 3 and 4 rockets off. And if one engineer puts all 4 rockets into their tank, even the low-end rockets that do a little bit of damage, that can destroy a tank. You take an effect that, you know, if you're playing Conquest or even, you know, Rush, the enemy could have 2 to 3 engineers. So now you've got between 8 and 12 rockets coming at you. Nullified. You know, vehicles are nullified right there. You can't take on, you know, enemy infantry. And I've done enough Arma online that I know how tanks are supposed to work. Tanks are supposed to complement infantry. So if infantry and a tank are taking on infantry only, theoretically that infantry and tank squad should win. But not in Battlefield 4. Infantry on infantry is the only way you can really go, because the enemy infantry will annihilate your tanks. And that's pretty much what happens. Tanks get there, and the team with the most RPGs will end up winning. And you can't change the tide of battle with a tank. It's impossible. All you can do is use a tank for other enemy vehicles. And that sucks, because unlike PC where you've got 64 players, you've only got between, you know, 20 and 24 players on the PS3. So if you've got the max 2 people in a tank, you've got 2 tanks, there's 4 people. Now it's become a 6-on-6 and we're playing Call of Duty. That's not fun. You know, that takes away a lot of what the game was. And then we move on to, you know, just the game in general. You know, why was Battlefield 4 not built off of what Battlefield 3 was? You know, when the trailers came around for Battlefield 4, they said that Battlefield 4 was going to be the next great step in the Battlefield 3 series. You know, they made it seem like Battlefield 4 was going to be a step up of what Battlefield 3 was. They were going to take everything they learned from Battlefield 3 and put it into Battlefield 4. But they didn't. They didn't do any of that. Basically, all they did was make the game worse. And one other thing I forgot to talk about, and I don't even know how I forgot to talk about this, the map designs. So, if you're a veteran of Battlefield, you'll come to be accustomed to super large matches with super large maps. Not anymore. The maps are no longer huge. Like, okay, Conquest maps are somewhat big, but they're not as big as they used to be. Now, Battlefield 4 is covered with a bunch of smaller maps and a bunch of smaller modes. TDM, small map. Domination, small map. Diffuse, small map. Rush, big map with small boxes. In Rush, you play in a small, tight, you know, confined area until you either defuse the bombs or blow up the bombs. Then you move on to the next 10 by 10 small box section. So that's why I say it's a box within a box. Conquest is the only mode that allows you to have an open battlefield. And you know, when I think of Battlefield, and I think when anybody thinks of Battlefield, they think of giant matches with tanks and planes and helicopters. You know, that's what Battlefield has been forever, and it's not that anymore. Battlefield is now a bunch of close quarter combat. And Levolution? No. That's just, I mean, yeah, Levolution is nice, but, you know, I thought they were going to be like, oh, you could do this and this and this. There's nothing, you can't do anything more in Battlefield 4 than you can do in Battlefield 3. I mean, every building in Battlefield 4 is destructible, which is cool. You couldn't say that in Battlefield 3, but it's not like amazing. The Levolution is kind of cool, but there's so many stupid steps you have to do to level loot a building. It's almost impossible. It's like you spend all your time doing this to try to get this Levolution, and you're probably going to lose because you're not using your resources wisely. And then on top of that, which this is almost like, I don't know, this could be a game breaker for some people. You know, I don't know. So I don't know how you guys go for playing a game, but when I play, I'm a 50-50. I like to play with my friends and I like to play by myself. There are times when I want to squad up and I want to play with friends. There are times I just want you to leave me a big. Apparently, most people are that latter half. They don't want to be bothered because Battlefield 4 doesn't have a squad system, so no longer can you invite 4 friends into a squad and then go join a match. That doesn't work. In game, yeah, there's squads of 5, but outside of that, you can't make squads anymore. They've gotten rid of the squad system. If you want to join up with your friends, you have to see what match they're playing, and then you have to join the match if you can. And then if you join, you got to hope that you can still get into their squad. So basically, not having a squad eliminates the whole competitive side of Battlefield 4, because you can't have a clan of 12 versus a clan of 12. It's impossible. There's no way to do it. And I don't understand why they got rid of the squad system. You know, if you read the Battlelog forums, there are a ton of people that are mad. You know, hell, even Call of Duty has a squad system. You know, I don't understand why Battlefield 4 decided to get rid of a squad system. And they're like, well, we acknowledge this, and there's supposed to be some kind of changes coming. I don't know if they could change it, if it's hardwired into the system, but, you know, why? Like, it wasn't broke. Why remove it? You know, that's why people play games. You know, most people play games because they want to play with friends and they want to have a good time. They don't want to play the game and scream at the console all the time. You know, I like to play competitively, but I still like to have fun. Look at that. I shot first but didn't do shit because he shot around the corner. And that's the only way you can get kills anymore. Like, if you know when someone's coming, don't wait until you see them. Pre-fire. If you know someone's coming around the corner, start shooting and then go around the corner. That's the only way you'll get kills. If you wait to see them and shoot them, you'll die just because the netcode is so messed up. And it's like, you know, it goes back on to what I was talking about earlier. They didn't build off of Battlefield 3, and I don't know why. This game feels nothing but rushed. I played the beta, the beta, whatever you want to call it, wherever you're from. I played it. And, you know, in my honest opinion, this game is rushed. And I would love to say, hey, this game is great, blah, 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 blah. But it's not. It's horrible. You know, people on the battle logs are saying this game was released to compete with Call of Duty Ghost because they didn't want to lose any gamers to Call of Duty Ghost. And I didn't want to believe it, but it's true. This game was released early to compete with Call of Duty Ghost. And, you know, honestly, I don't think Battlefield should be competing with Ghost. Battlefield is a whole different genre, a whole different series. You know, Battlefield should be making games to suit their fans, not to suit the Call of Duty fans. Call of Duty doesn't make changes to suit Battlefield 3 fans or Battlefield 4 fans, so why should DICE make drastic changes to suit another genre? It just tells me that they don't care about the fans, but they want you to buy premium and they want you to buy this DLC. They want you to buy all this stuff to pad their wallet, but they're not going to fix the problems. They're not going to get back to you. They're not going to care about you. You know, people say, oh, well, it's too early. You know, the game's not been out that long. They still got to get back to you. That's fine. Okay, the game's been out not that long. They still got to get the patches. But what about this stuff that they have done that shows that they truly don't care about the gamers? You know, there are some cool things. You know, you can change if you want to be more defensive or more offensive. You can change what kind of squad perks you get. There's a lot more modes to try. And now if you get over 60% damage, instead of getting assist, you get a kill. Those are nice, but I just spent over 30 minutes complaining about the problems this game has. Not because I want to, but because I think that you people should be informed of what you're getting into. You know, the PS4 releases in a little over 4 days, and I think a lot of people think that the PS4 is going to magically remedy a ton of problems, and it's not. All the PS4 is going to fix is the graphic problem. The PS4 is going to make next-gen games look nice and shiny and pretty, but outside of that, it's going to look like crap. Like that right there. I was aiming my RPG at a wall and I blew up some, you know, the wood next to it. You know, PS4 isn't going to fix these problems. These are server problems. These are problems that the PC players have. These are problems that we as PS3 players have, as the Xbox players have these. You know, none of this will be changed in the next generation. The only thing that will be changed in the next generation is the graphics. So I don't think people should run out and spend $400 on a system that really isn't going to do anything yet. You know, games weren't made for that system yet. You know, the games that are out now have problems. You know, this is how I feel. And I've said it once and I'll say it again. I hate to complain about this game, but I think you guys should know how bad this game is. I think you should know what you're getting into. I haven't bought premium yet, and to be honest, I don't plan on buying premium yet, because yes, I will play this game, and yes, this game pisses me off, but there are still brief moments where I get excited when I play this game. There are still brief moments when I play with friends and I have a good time. Granted, it's difficult to play with friends, but there are still moments when I have fun playing this game and when I have fun playing with friends. So, you know, I'm going to continue to play the game, and I'm going to hope that they fix this game because I've bought it. But until this game is fixed to where it should be, I don't plan on buying premium, you know. If this game gets fixed to where it should be a rival of Battlefield 3, where there shouldn't be rubber banding and lag spikes, where hit detection should be fixed, then I'll buy premium. You know, this stuff was fixed in Battlefield 3. There were rubber banding, there was lag spikes, there was a problem with hit detection. All this was a problem in Battlefield 3, and they fixed it. It should have came over the Battlefield 4. It didn't, but I'm hoping that EA fixes it. And if they do, I'll buy premium. If they don't, I won't. And, you know, before I go, one last thing. I've linked the description to the topic that I'm actually quoting stuff from. This guy had very similar views to what I had. His name is VCXPRE. He calls it a competitive player's feedback on why Battlefield 4 sucks. So I encourage you to take a look at that video. Like I said, we share similar points. I just elaborated on it a little bit more and said my 2 cents. But is what it is. I hope to have a few other Battlefield 4 games up. I'll continue to slug it out with this game. But until then, you know, I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video, and I'll give you updates. But for now, I will see you guys.